talking about about the Marine Corps and with Raiders. So McMap kind of came in a little bit after I came in, and the initial phases of McMap, with what Bristol was doing and the kind of the things that they, it was really badass. It was much more like a kind of an MMA kind of full-rounded martial arts system. But unfortunately, like with any institution, when you make things required and you do things that are like for rank and for belt, it gets watered down. Kind of the things that Gareth and I were talking about that with some of the places that are like, you have to be a blue belt. If you're a cop, you got to be a blue belt. And we're like, great idea, right? But then how does that play into scalability? And like, it takes a long time to become a blue belt. It takes a lot of time on the mats. And so like, are they letting them, are they paying for it? Are they giving them the time and energy? Is it on your own? Or is it one of those things like, I got a guy, I'll hook you up, blah, 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 blah. And then it's going to show on the streets. But for my time in the military, we were, you talked about prior to like in the late 90s, we were so focused on deployments. Some guys did a little bit of stuff here and there. It was a small little practice. Some guys would roll and some guys would do certain things, but it wasn't on like an institutional level. It was much more combat orientated and just smashing people and weapons retention and things like that. Now, today, there actually are being jiu-jitsu contracted practitioners coming in and teaching the teams and teaching operators how to actually roll and manipulate, bodies and joints and things like that on a more professional level than it was. So that is something that has kind of taken place in the past couple of years. That's grown, which is really awesome to see.
That's awesome. I mean, I even thought of it as so many years people are like, oh, how many, like Marines, any special operations unit can benefit from the techniques and they can use that techniques in battle. And I think it's more so not even about that, even just the ability to be safe while rolling, while deployed. And that's going to have the benefits of that world, just talking about when you're not deployed. But what about when you are deployed? You guys can all on your own time when you're doing PT or whatever, be rolling in a safe way. I think that's even more so than trying to do techniques in battle.
Yeah.
And also, the talking about like the neurochemical sequence of events that happens in a fight or flight response, it enables you to shift from your reptilian brain to your prefrontal cortex. It enables you to conceptually and psychologically deal with stressful, adverse situations where I've been here before. I know what it's like to have a grown-ass man try to strangle me from a mounted position. I know what it's like to have someone grab a knife out of my hand or a gun out of my hand. I can't tell you how many beneficial aspects and in many ways situations. Yesterday, I got hit by a fucking car, almost smacked into a telephone pole. Honestly, had I not been someone who trained in jiu-jitsu and didn't have the calm, cool, collective confidence of dealing with stressful, adverse situations, I could have went left instead of right and went into oncoming traffic. Had a situation, I'll make a long, short story of it, but 5 years ago, I was sailing, preparing for an open water sail, got hit with a gale force storm out of nowhere, lost our mainsail, lost our jib sail. Boat was listed on the starboard side for close to 12 hours. Had no other choice but to put the bow lines around my waist and low crawl for close to 45 minutes. So finally, the keel of the sailboat released itself from the sandbar we were stuck on. It pulled me underneath the boat and basically dragged me for close to what seemed like an eternity, but close to 5 to 6 minutes. As I pulled one of the bow lines off, the other one got tighter, went around my carotid artery, literally started to black out, felt this warm, ambience kind of caressing and overcoming my body, and literally came to terms with the fact that I was going to drown. And I was like, fuck that. I'm a fighter. I'm going to get through this. I literally used rear naked choke defense, pulled the bow line down, was able to then swim my arm through, pull it down to my belly, and fucking was able to catch air and get to the surface of the water. Had I not trained jiu-jitsu, I know for a fact I would have died that day out in the water. Yeah. It just has the ability to empower us and protect us and safeguard us and our families and our friends and society as a whole in a different way. That's why I love. law enforcement.
And I think you brought up a good point, right? Because you said, fuck that. We all do that in jiu-jitsu. Someone's like on top of us, or we're mounted, or we're in a bad position. You're like, fuck that. I'm not accepting it, right? And it's a question. You don't accept your crappy position. You're not going to lose, right? We get into that mindset where you're like, fuck that. I'm not submitting to this. I am not. Do you know what I mean? I am going to get out of this the best I can.
Conceding failure is not an option. I think that's else what jiu-jitsu gives you. There's always a fighting chance, right? Always a glitz and hope, and you can
all the way to the end.
Yep.
Yeah, that more than any other martial art teaches that, the perseverance in adversity. And I mean, and that to me is more important for these guys, in serving than the fact that maybe I can pull off an armbar in a combative situation. I think,
exactly.
Like that's exactly what these guys should be able to access while serving and while not.
And to Nick's point earlier, it's not accepting a shitty situation, right? You come out of the military, and sometimes you're in this place, right? It's not accepting that situation you're in. It's improving your situation.